My name is Kasper Krzewski. I'm the CTO of Equitable Analytics. I'm a New Yorker based in Phoenix. I'm an artist and voracious reader, and I have a new baby daughter named Electra. Now I'm going to pass it over to Kirk from Snowflake.
Hello, I'm Kirk Mason. I'm on the solution innovation team at Snowflake. So my group works with companies across a wide range of industries to implement emerging features and new Snowflake capabilities. And then if we notice repeatable patterns or common customer needs, we'll develop a solution, a generalized solution that we can pass off to other customers as well. Today we're going to cover a few things. First, we'll talk about Equitable Analytics and the work that they're doing with Face the Fight, which is a coalition of organizations who are united under the common goal of reducing the rate of veteran suicide. And then after that overview, we'll talk about some of the specific Snowflake features that made their work possible, like Cortex or polyglot scripting, to name a few. And then after that, after you have a good idea of the architecture, Kasper will walk you through a demo of the app so you can see it in a real-world context. And then the last few minutes, we'll convey some resources and information about how you could get involved as well. So to get us started, Kasper, can you tell us a little bit about Equitable Analytics and the work that you're doing and what Face the Fight is trying to accomplish?
Yeah, for sure. We're going to talk about Face the Fight, and before we do, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Equitable Analytics. We're an advisory and implementation partner that can help you solve the toughest challenges in your data landscape. Our application delivers powerful and actionable insights about your customer populations. And our solutions are plug and play, intuitive, and they're scalable. In a moment, I'm going to tell you more about how we use data to transform how Face the Fight serves veterans. Face the Fight is a coalition of organizations. These are veteran-serving organizations united under one mission: to dramatically reduce the rate of veteran suicide by 2030. Face the Fight assembled a coalition of organizations, both big and small. And we're honored to be a part of that fight. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how we contribute. Now, before I do, I want to bring to light that veterans in this country are facing an urgent crisis that demands our immediate attention. Veterans are 57% more likely to die by suicide than the baseline. And since 9/11, there have been over 120,000 veteran deaths by suicide. It's become the second leading cause of death for veterans in this country. But most troubling of all, there's no history of mental illness in more than half the cases. Now, these numbers reveal a profound struggle. And this is demanding our urgent action so we can build comprehensive support systems that are going to address the complex factors driving this tragic loss. Now, our work with Face the Fight focuses on two core areas that the CDC has identified that can support veterans and reduce suicide risk. And these are improving access and delivery of suicide care, and also identifying and supporting people at risk. Earlier this year, at USAA headquarters, Face the Fight showed us a public service announcement, or PSA, that aired during the Super Bowl. The imagery in this PSA brings to light the challenges that veterans are facing. I want to show that to you now.
Every day, our veterans face unseen battles. Every life is worth living, and every veteran matters. Together, we can face the fight against veteran suicide.
Now that video moves me every time I see it. So our team of population health and analytics experts, combined with our state-of-the-art cloud application that we're going to show and demo for you, accelerate understanding the barriers that your clients face. You get faster targeted interventions. You get reduced operating costs. You get improved outcomes. And you get a healthier client population. We're proud to partner with Face the Fight and the Daniello Institute for Veterans and Military Families so that we can all work to reduce veteran suicide. I want to emphasize that none of this would be possible without powerful technology partners. And that's where Snowflake comes in. It's been instrumental in turning data into action.
And I'm really glad, working at Snowflake, that we were able to take part in the solution that you built. Equitable analytics is addressing a serious need, and the work that they're doing is impacting a large population of people. And working at Snowflake, I really love hearing stories like this, where unique features of the platform are empowering companies to tackle meaningful issues. In a minute, we'll dive into some of the specific Snowflake features that empowered that work. But first, Casper, can you give a quick overview of the application you built? Who uses it, and how does it help veterans connect to the services they need?
Earlier, we identified 2 actions that we can take, which are improving access and delivery of suicide care, and identifying and supporting people at risk. So there are manifold challenges surrounding performing these activities. Okay? It could be expensive, time-consuming, and expensive, time-consuming, and difficult to reach people. And each person has individualized, complex needs. So I know we can solve this problem with the right people, process, and technology. Face the Fight asked us to help solve these challenges. Okay? We needed a platform that was cost-effective and made it easy for us to reach people. It had to help us understand the different needs of everybody, and it couldn't make us incorporate endless third-party tools. Finally, because we're dealing with protected health information, it had to be HIPAA compliant. Now, our application connects Face the Fight with these veteran-serving organizations with veterans directly. We take care of the data infrastructure so that they can do what they do best, which is providing clinical services and direct support to the veterans. I feel fortunate that we found Snowflake because it's the heart of how we solve these challenges and how we turbocharge these organizations.
That's great. And just to summarize, the solution that Equitable Analytics built, at a very high level, it identifies a crisis early on, and that allows us to take meaningful action and identify the potential crisis and provide critical intervention in a timely manner. So since Snowflake plays such a large role in the solution that we built, that Equitable Analytics built, let's talk about why Equitable Analytics chose to leverage Snowflake in your architecture. So what unique benefits did Snowflake offer that made it the right choice for Equitable Analytics and supported your data requirements?
Yeah, Kirk, let's talk about why Snowflake. We were shopping for more than a traditional database. We knew we wanted to go to the SaaS route and avoid all that pesky server maintenance. We wanted something that was easy to integrate with Face the Fight and their tech stack, and also with our tech stack. We were looking for something that had native AI, and most importantly, again, because it has PHI, it had to be HIPAA compliant and secure. Now, Snowflake fires on every cylinder, and it takes care of all of these needs and more. So Kirk, I know you've dealt with similar organizations with these kind of requirements.
Yep. Yeah, as part of the solution innovation team, We've worked with a lot of companies, like I said, across a wide range of industries, and time again, we hear the same thing that you're saying, which is that companies are realizing significant value from the fact that Snowflake has integrated the features that they need into a single platform. So now companies can do their machine learning, they can leverage AI, they can do their app work, their analytics, they can do that all within Snowflake without having to move their data out of Snowflake's secure perimeter to train a machine learning model or leverage an LLM, and then move the results back into Snowflake. Now all that work can be done directly inside Snowflake, which provides tremendous cost performance and governance benefits. So let's dive into some of the specific features that Equitable Analytics is using from Snowflake to help empower the work that they're doing.
You know, I frequently encounter people that are amazed and frustrated by AI, and they're struggling with the real-world applications. Snowflake's native AI, Cortex, is where we start our application. When a veteran reaches out, oftentimes that veteran will include a custom message. Now, Cortex can do so much with free text, and one of those things is sentiment analysis. So we've built our own AI crisis agent using Cortex to make a customized sentiment analysis that surfaces these crises. Kirk, you're the AI ML expert, right? I know you could talk about Cortex and tell us more.
Yeah, of course. And I actually bet many of the people out here could tell us just as much as I could after 3 days of AI announcements here at Summit. But I think I'll emphasize one point, which is kind of like an overarching theme in Snowflake for AI. It's that we make AI easy to leverage in a couple ways. So one way that we make it easy to really realize value from AI is security. So, you know, Casper mentioned that Equitable Analytics deals with patient information, so security is of utmost importance to them. They have to adhere to strict regulatory compliance. And that's the case in other industries as well, not just in healthcare. So I get asked about this from time to time. How does security relate to Snowflake's posture in AI? And when users use Snowflake AI features, their usage data and customer data, and that includes your LLM inputs and outputs, are never shared with any other customers or third-party model developers. Your data is never used to train or retrain or fine-tune a model that's made available to others. Your data stays secure, and that security benefit makes it easy for a lot of companies to start leveraging AI and to jump into the AI capabilities we have. And the other way that Snowflake makes it easy to really start to gain value from your AI is that Snowflake manages so much of the infrastructure complexity for you. So now you can access a lot of these AI services in very simple no-code or SQL or REST API interfaces, so that you can focus on actually what you want to do with AI, how you want to leverage it, instead of how you need to set it up. This helps a lot of companies, get out of the gate faster and start leveraging these capabilities and deriving real value from their data. For example, I was working with a group not too long ago who had no data science experience, and within a very short amount of time, they were able to fine-tune a pre-trained LLM on their service technician notes, and then they could run an analysis over months of data that they couldn't do before, and they were able to do that really quickly because Snowflake, again, makes it secure and makes it easy to start leveraging AI. It's very user-friendly for users with a wide range of technical capabilities. Casper and I were talking after a session 2 or 3 days ago, and he was saying how easy it's going to be for them to start leveraging our multimodal capability to start analyzing audio files and call transcripts so that they can get additional insights about what a patient is going through based off of what they said on a call. So I think that ease of use played a major role in how Equitable Analytics was able to integrate AI capabilities into their solution so quickly. So that got them to their end product a lot faster.
Yeah, Kirk, you teased a feature that we're going to roll out soon, which is using Cortex to analyze calls. Okay, so Cortex also is going to create alerts, right? We've scanned free text to identify veterans in crisis, and we create these alerts inside of Snowflake. We don't use Snowflake to send alerts because Snowflake can only send emails to confirmed user emails. So instead, we use our custom Git orchestrator, which picks up these alerts and sends them to our Okta API endpoint. We're already using Okta to safeguard our application. Now, what happens is Okta receives the data that Cortex built and sends instant emails to stakeholders from us. Now, an example of a stakeholder in this case could be a clinician who can now perform a life-saving intervention. That's all driven by Cortex.
So Cortex helps summarize the veteran-written content, and then you can get alerted to a veteran in crisis early on. And I think that's a really remarkable use, a wonderful use of Snowflake Cortex features and AI in your application. So now let's talk about some of the other features that they're leveraging.
Snowflake has native geospatial capabilities that are fast and intuitive. One of the functions that we use is ST covers. Now we know where the veteran lives because the veteran has provided his or her address. We then geocode that and match it with one of our census polygons into which we've loaded hundreds of metrics. Knowing more information about where the veteran lives and his or her neighborhood helps us to ask the right questions. So then we tailor a self-assessment for that veteran.
So you're using geospatial information to send a tailor-made assessment to the veterans, and that needs to happen pretty quickly. So latency is an important factor for this solution in general, both in terms of how it affects the analytics layer, where these member organizations are going to get their analytical insights, but also, as we just mentioned, in how it affects the information traveling to and from the veterans, such as the tailor-made self-assessment form. So regarding the geospatial features, does the fact that Snowflake has your data and native geospatial functions next to each other, does that meet your latency requirements you had for the app? What does that allow the app to do?
Yeah, Kirk, because we're not sending those data out, we're keeping them secure, but we also don't have sub-second transit times. It's instant, and we can send our life-saving assessments right away. Now, speed is critical for every organization, especially for us, because of the nature of the problem we're tackling. Here's where we leverage the brute force compute capabilities of Snowflake. We've shifted our entire analytics layer out of Tableau and back into Snowflake. That means we've built every calculation, metric, and more in Snowflake. All Tableau has to do is render the visuals and allow us to filter. That means that these Tableau dashboards are lightning fast, even for huge data sets. These dashboards, which we'll see in a few moments, are how Face the Fight manages and understands its veteran populations. Now, this is one of my favorite Snowflake features. It's Snowflake scripting, in other words, stored procedures in 5 different languages. Because we have 5 different languages, we can do the most complex work inside of Snowflake natively. That keeps analytics in-house. Now, I love the versatility and repeatability of a good stored procedure.
Yeah, and so when companies are moving onto Snowflake or moving processes onto Snowflake, it's capabilities like this that helps them migrate faster. So now, this is actually not a new capability, but it's still a very exciting one. Like Casper said, it's one of his favorites. So you can take your existing code base and run it directly in Snowflake without having to refactor it. So it saves you a lot of time and effort as you migrate maybe a machine learning workflow or a data engineering workflow or whatever kind of workflow you're moving onto Snowflake. I believe that was the case for you, right? That it saved you a lot of time and energy.
Yeah, we took our existing SQL, JavaScript, and Python, and we were able to run right away. There is another feature that sets Snowflake apart from other platforms, and that's the variant data type. Now, our application uses a variety of API calls. The variant data type gives us the flexibility to use schema on read and parse dynamically inside of Snowflake. It's been a total game changer.
And how would your approach have been affected if you didn't have access to the variant data type?
We'd have to create our rigid tables, right, for every conceivable API output that we could imagine. And as APIs change over time, we'd have to change those tables. We'd get frequent errors. There'd be a lot of manual intervention. But the variant data type lets us adapt on the fly, and there's no more maintenance nightmare. Managing data at scale means that we have to balance performance and cost. So table scans, they're slow and expensive. We rely on Snowflake streams, which are change data capture, or CDC. So our Git orchestrator intelligently decides what to do by looking at the streams to identify new and updated records. Then it can decide to run pipelines, store procedures, materialize views, and more, all the way through refreshing Tableau dashboards. And that's all done only as needed. We could have built all of this and paid heavily for all of these features. With Snowflake's pay-as-you-go model, it eliminated CapEx and helps us control costs and save those Snowflake credits. There is a high unpredictability in when these veteran data will come in. With dynamic scaling, we can scale out and in based on our workloads so we can fulfill our SLAs. Now, Kirk, we were talking about this crucial feature the other day, right?
Yep. Yeah, so auto-scaling is also not a new feature, but it delivers incredible value, so it's worth talking about. So not only can users adjust up and down the size of their warehouse to meet a query demand, but they can also rely on multi-cluster auto-scaling. So if you have a multi-cluster warehouse, your applications can scale out during times of high concurrency and then scale back in when demand decreases during off-peak times. And this obviously saves a lot of infrastructure maintenance, and it saves a lot of cost as well. Something else that was announced here at Summit a couple days ago, I think in Tuesday's keynote, is that we have adaptive warehouses coming out. So this is something I'm really excited about. So now, in addition to auto-scaling out and in, Snowflake warehouses can automatically scale up and down based off of the query profiles in your query history. So it'll analyze your query profiles and decide if a query you're running in a pipeline is using too much compute or too little, and it'll automatically scale that up to provide further optimization for you. So these are just a few of the capabilities that provide a lot of that optimization so you don't have to think about that management piece.
Now, we have PHI. So security is our top priority, as we've mentioned before. Snowflake Business Critical safeguards our data using 256-bit encryption, rotating keys, and more. We went above and beyond by using serverless alerts. So we created a custom mapping table with all the different types of cybersecurity things that we'd have to watch out for. Our serverless alerts are instantiated out of the ether. They're constantly scanning our environment. And when there's an issue, it's sent immediately to our cybersecurity team. Now, we created a fortress inside of a fortress.
Yeah, I like that term fortress because it really evokes what the security you get from Snowflake. So have you already seen this benefiting your organization, that security?
Yeah, we use CIS best practices for these cybersecurity alerts, and we recently found a case of an inappropriate permissions escalation that we were able to find and take care of. We're almost at our demo. I just want to show an end-to-end summary of what we're doing here. So the data start in these veteran-serving organizations. We use our pipelines to ELT the data into Snowflake, where Cortex is waiting to scan all the free text and identify crises. At the same time, we're geocoding the veterans' addresses so that we can tailor our self-assessments and send them out. This all happens in a second. Once we get these assessments back, which we'll see in our demo, we analyze and score them using our AI-augmented algorithms. We load everything into our analytics layer and have Tableau refresh. Finally, all of that, and we're sending these instant data alerts.
Yeah, it's great to see how Snowflake is integrated into the solution, how various features work together seamlessly in a single platform to get you to your end goal. So now let's show the architecture in practice. That's always the fun part, is to see the work you've done in a real-world context and see how users interact with it. So Casper, can you walk us through a demo and show us how a veteran might use the app?
Yeah, I'd love to. We're going to showcase the application through the story of Stanley. Stanley is a face-to-fight persona. He is a decorated veteran. And like many other military members, he's facing some challenges transitioning back to civilian life. So our application starts when Stanley reaches out through an intake form. He's contacting Face the Fight because he wants more help. Maybe he's in some sort of crisis. He's going to fill out one of these forms and include some basic information, his address, and then he's going to write us a message. So it turns out that Stanley is facing some sorts of challenges. Ordinarily, it's going to take some time for this message to reach somebody. The person has to read it, triage, and decide when to reach out to Stanley. But because we're using Cortex, it's triggered automatically. And Cortex alerts stakeholders via email that there is a veteran who has a crisis. In this case, Stanley's crisis level is high. At the same time, we've geocoded his address so that we can get information about his neighborhood, and we can then start to tailor a self-assessment that's going to go out to him. Now, this self-assessment that we've talked about is the SDNA, the Social Dynamic Needs Assessment. We are going to use self-assessments that are industry best practices, like the PHQ-9, GAD-7, and more, so we can ask him a tailored flow of questions based on the information that we already know about him. Okay, this is Stanley filling out his survey, and we've only shown a couple of questions here. We load, analyze, and score the responses for display on the dashboard. We now know so much more about Stanley without having to lift a finger. So that was part one of the demo. We're going to talk a little bit more, and then we'll show the next part. Now we can have better conversations and take smarter actions with Stanley. Cortex told us that he's facing a crisis. And because we geocoded his address and matched it with our census polygons, we know that his neighborhood is throwing up some barriers to his health. He is also self-identified as being at risk for suicide, PTSD, substance use and alcohol use disorders, and pain management. Face the Fight can now do what they do best, which is provide services and support. So how does Face the Fight know if they've made an impact and helped Stanley? Let's continue our demo. The best way to understand if Face the Fight is having an impact is to ask Stanley. We have additional touch points at 3 and 6 months. That's when we ask Stanley the same questions so that we can compare his baseline and follow-up to measure for clinically significant improvements. Normally, measuring outcomes is extremely expensive and time-consuming. Traditional methods can take up to a year. We're measuring outcomes in a faster and more cost-effective manner. Okay, Stanley is just finishing up his self-assessment. And then once he submits it, we process it again, and we can see that Stanley is doing much better. His responses show us that the intervention was successful. We're also aggregating Stanley's responses with the rest of the population so that we can assess overall performance. That's not all. Another thing that we're doing is we are sending a client experience survey. We want to understand if Stanley is satisfied with the support and services that were provided. So we're also using industry best practices. We use the Net Promoter Score, the Client Satisfaction Score, and we're getting feedback from specific team members. Armed with this information, Face the Fight can improve their services for current and future veterans. So we not only provided a deeper understanding of the veteran, but also of the services provided by Face the Fight. So what value have we provided? We've mitigated suicide risk. Many of you are dealing with different types of risk. We can help you with that too. We now can understand veterans more quickly. We've refocused these veteran-serving organizations back on what they do best. We've surfaced hidden risks. We've measured outcomes. And now these organizations can spend less time, effort, and money, and they can do more than they used to. We're thankful that Snowflake is the heart of our application and how we help Face the Fight serve its veterans. We can partner with you too to create this similar kind of impact and value. Kirk, is there anything you want to add?
I'll just offer a quick summary of what the work is doing, just because I think it's amazing and I really want to reemphasize it. So a veteran, reaching out to a veteran-serving organization is presented with an intake form, and they fill out specific pieces of information, such as their address and a free-form message, and then Snowflake features, like AI features through Cortex and geospatial features, analyze that information, and they can send a tailor-made assessment back to the veteran. And in addition to that, detailed analysis of the veteran is shared with the member organizations so that critical care can be offered in a very timely manner. That was all accomplished using Snowflake features that helped make the solution fast and secure and cost-effective. All right, so now we'll spend just a few minutes giving you more information, sharing some resources about how you can learn more, how you can get involved. A couple days ago, I was riding in a ride share, and the driver shared with me that he was an Army vet, and upon returning to civilian life, he very candidly said he really struggled with his emotional and mental health, and it was really negatively impacting his family. Eventually, he reached out to the right organization. He did some research and found a group that he could reach out to for help at the right time, and he kind of joyfully expressed that it saved his marriage and it saved his family. And I remember feeling very thankful for him. I just felt a sense of gratitude that he was able to find the services he needed. And it also made me think about all the people who don't know where to turn or don't know how to get help. And so that makes me thankful for the work that Equitable Analytics is doing, because they're helping bridge that gap. They're helping pair veterans with the life-saving care that they need. So Casper, can you share a few closing thoughts and share some resources so that if we or someone we love is going through something, we know where to turn for help?
Yeah, Kirk, we've been talking about how Face the Fight reduces veteran suicide, but suicide can affect anyone. One of the objectives of Face the Fight is to reduce the stigma surrounding suicide. The information on the screen should be as natural and normal as 911. Everybody should know that there are trained professionals 24/7 available to talk about suicide. Now, as of March 2025, over 6,500 lives have been saved. That's a tremendous impact. I want you for a moment to picture all the birthdays, graduations, and precious moments that are being lived joyously, and all the families saved. I want everybody to take out your phones, most of you have them out already, and scan this QR code so that you can learn how to join the fight. Please take them out now and scan the QR code. Give everybody a few moments. Thank you. We showed you how we use data to transform how Face the Fight serves veterans. I hope I've given you a sense of how we can tailor and deploy our application for any type of risk that you're dealing with and partner with you to add value.